For him to take that tone in the harshness in which he said it lets me know he was highly agitated by what Ant said.
And this summer, ain't nobody athletic ever been in the league, and nobody could jump and all this. I'm like, whoa, what are you talking about? Don't attack all the old school guys when you haven't done your homework.
And built one of the greatest rivalries in sports history through years of battles between the and the. They met in college, fought through multiple NBA finals, and elevated basketball into a global phenomenon by forcing each other to reach impossible levels of greatness. Over time, that rivalry transformed into deep respect because both men understood exactly what the other sacrificed to compete at that level. That history is why comments from dismissing older eras struck such a nerve across the basketball world. To many former players, criticizing that generation means dismissing the players who carried the NBA into modern relevance through skill, toughness, and relentless competition. According to, the most revealing part of Magic's response was not necessarily the words themselves, but the tone behind them. Magic is known publicly as one of the most positive and composed figures in sports, someone who rarely responds emotionally or personally to criticism. So when he spoke seriously about Edwards' comments, many people interpreted it as genuine disappointment rather than ordinary sports debate. For older NBA legends, the issue is not whether today's athletes are talented. It is whether younger stars fully understand the history, sacrifice, and greatness of the players whose legacy built the league they now dominate.
For him to take that tone in the harshness in which he said it lets me know he was highly agitated by what Ant said. Because normally Magic is a lot more diplomatic. He's a lot more PC. Yep. Now, behind the scenes, it's a whole different argument. But he's a lot more diplomatic. Right. He's a lot more diplomatic.
And were far more than rivals between the and the. Together, they transformed the NBA into a global spectacle during a period when professional basketball was struggling for mainstream relevance. Their battles in college and the NBA Finals created one of the most important rivalries in sports history, elevating television ratings, fan interest, and the overall visibility of the league. That shared history is why comments from dismissing the skill and athleticism of older eras landed so personally with Magic. To him, criticism of Bird is not simply criticism of a former opponent. It is criticism of the generation that helped build modern basketball into what it is today. People around Magic, including, noted how unusually serious and frustrated Magic appeared while responding to Edwards' comments. That reaction stood out because Magic has spent decades cultivating a reputation as one of the most positive, diplomatic, and composed figures in professional sports. Many observers felt his response reflected not anger over a basketball opinion, but disappointment that younger stars could dismiss an entire generation without fully understanding the sacrifices, competition, and brilliance that shaped the NBA long before the modern era.
Larry Bird and I knew what we had to do. He knew what he had to do for Indiana State. I knew what I had to do for Michigan State. And I think we put the madness in March. And then these other guys just took it and ran with it. We both came into the NBA and changed the NBA because we brought in a different style. Both of us brought in a different style, and we both played for historic teams.
And helped rescue the NBA during a time when the league struggled for mainstream attention. Before their rivalry between the and the captured national audiences, NBA Finals games were sometimes shown on tape delay because television networks did not believe enough people cared to watch live. Their clashes transformed professional basketball into a cultural event, creating the foundation for the global league modern stars now inherit. That history is why comments from calling older eras unskilled or unathletic struck such a nerve with former players and analysts. To many legends, Edwards was not simply criticizing a style of basketball. He was dismissing the generation that made today's NBA possible. What made Bird especially important in this conversation is that he represented a completely different model of greatness. Bird was never defined by elite speed or explosive athleticism. Instead, he dominated through shooting, footwork, anticipation, basketball IQ, competitiveness, and psychological pressure that overwhelmed opponents. That is why many older players see him as the ultimate counterargument to the idea that athleticism alone determines greatness. According to discussions involving Magic on platforms like Byron Scott's podcast, the message directed toward younger stars was not simply about respecting old highlights or nostalgia. It was about understanding that basketball greatness has always come in different forms, and dismissing previous eras without studying them reflects a misunderstanding of the sport itself.
You made a comment about Anthony Edwards a while back, who had some things to say.
Right.
About the old school heads.
Right. Yeah, about the old school heads. And again, you youngsters, y'all better understand.
They don't know.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Just chill out with that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you're going to run up on one of these old heads and get
Responded to comments from with unusual intensity because he believed Edwards was dismissing not just individual players, but an entire generation of competitors who helped build the modern NBA. During conversations about Edwards claiming older eras lacked athleticism and skill, Magic reportedly pushed back by reminding listeners of the elite athletes who dominated the league long before today's stars arrived. Players like, and many others were explosive, powerful, and physically dominant in ways that defined basketball for entire generations. For Magic, the issue was not whether modern players are talented. It was the idea that younger stars could erase decades of greatness without understanding the level of competition those players faced. Many former legends believe the older NBA demanded a different type of toughness because defenses were more physical, hand-checking was allowed, and playoff basketball often became brutal mentally and physically. That is why Magic's response resonated so strongly. Coming from someone known for positivity and diplomacy throughout his career with the sharpness of his reaction signaled how personally many legends took Edwards' comments about their era.
And then this summer, ain't nobody athletic ever been in the league, and nobody could jump and all this. I'm like, whoa, what are you talking about? Don't attack all the old school guys when you haven't done your homework. First of all, there have been athletic guys. First of all, Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Kobe.
Dr. J.
Yeah.
Kobe. Clyde Drexler.
Yeah.
I can keep going.
Yeah, it's a
lot of guys. David Thompson, even before all of them.
Took comments from personally because, to him, criticizing means disrespecting one of the greatest competitors basketball has ever produced. Bird was never defined by elite athleticism or highlight dunks. He dominated through basketball IQ, shooting, toughness, relentless preparation, and an unmatched will to win with the. Magic spent a decade battling Bird in legendary finals matchups between the Celtics and the, so he understands better than almost anyone what made Bird special. That is why Magic pushed back so strongly against Edwards, dismissing older eras as unskilled or unathletic. To Magic, Bird proved greatness is not measured by vertical leap or speed, but by results, championships, leadership, and the ability to mentally break opponents even without overwhelming physical gifts. At the same time, Magic still acknowledged Edwards' talent because, unlike the criticism Edwards directed at past generations, Magic believes true basketball respect means recognizing greatness across every era instead of tearing one generation down to praise another.
But I'll answer his questions when he wins some championships.
Right. He's the most exciting player to watch in the NBA. If you look at Anthony and you look at Ja, they're probably the two, and then of course Kyrie. Those are the three can put on a
has openly praised as one of the most exciting young players in basketball, and that praise matters because it comes from someone who witnessed greatness across multiple eras. Magic played alongside with the battled in the iconic Finals series, and later watched dominate the NBA in the 1990s. When Magic compliments Edwards' athleticism and star potential, it carries enormous credibility because he understands exactly what elite talent looks like. At the same time, Magic's criticism centers on maturity, perspective, and resume rather than ability. Many former legends believe Edwards already has the physical tools to become a true superstar, but they also believe greatness requires humility, adaptation, and accomplishments earned through postseason success. Reports about private conversations between Magic and Jordan in Europe added to that narrative because both legends reportedly shared similar concerns about how quickly modern players are elevated before building championship resumes comparable to the players they criticize. To older NBA icons, confidence is necessary, but respect for history and sustained excellence are what ultimately separate entertaining young stars from all-time legends.
And I was with Michael Jordan not last summer, summer before last. We ran into each other in Europe, and he says, Irvin, I don't know why these guys, because if you look at his record, he almost played every game like 5 or 6 times throughout his career. He didn't miss one game. He played in every game. We wanted to play in every game.
And came from an NBA culture where playing through pain and showing up every night was considered part of the job, not something worthy of special praise. Jordan rarely missed games with the Bird destroyed his body competing for the even while battling severe back problems, and Magic treated every appearance with the as an obligation to the fans who paid to watch them compete. That is why many older legends struggle to understand modern load management and frequent rest days. To them, greatness was tied not only to talent and championships, but to the willingness to compete night after night regardless of fatigue, injuries, or discomfort because they believed fans deserved maximum effort every time they stepped onto the floor.
Pat Riley or our trainer, Gary Beatty, had to make sure that they said, no. B, don't put on your uniform. Don't come sitting on that bench because you would want to play because you want to play for your guys and with your guys. He made me wear a t-shirt.
He wouldn't let him put his uniform on when he couldn't play in the game because he knew he would tear the damn jerseys off and go in the game.
And were driven by a level of obsession that many former players believe no longer exists in the modern NBA. Stories about Magic trying to play through injuries so severe that trainers reportedly had to physically prevent him from taking the floor illustrate how deeply that generation tied competition to identity itself. Bird carried the same mentality with the sacrificing his body night after night until chronic back pain eventually ended his career early. Jordan approached basketball with that same relentless edge for the treating every game like a personal challenge to dominate whoever stood in front of him. To many older legends, that irrational level of competitive obsession is what separated championship dynasties from talented teams that never fully broke through. At the same time, not everyone agreed completely with Magic's criticism of modern players. Offered a different perspective on Gil's arena, arguing that basketball evolves and every generation develops under different rules, spacing, training methods, and expectations. Arenas and others believe younger stars should not automatically be dismissed simply because they compete in a different environment than previous eras. That debate is what makes conversations around players like so polarizing. One side values the toughness and mentality of older generations above everything else, while the other argues modern athletes face a completely different version of basketball that requires its own unique skills and pressures.
My Ferrari is faster than yours. Yeah, yours was top shit in the 80s. If we race today with your version and my version, the governor has changed, the wheels has changed, the brakes has changed, so my car is naturally just faster than yours.
Argued that every basketball generation benefits from advances in training, nutrition, sports science, and strategy, making direct era comparisons far more complicated than many fans admit. His point was that modern players grow up with better skill development systems, improved recovery methods, advanced analytics, and rule changes that shape the game differently from the eras dominated by, or. On the surface, many people agreed that basketball naturally evolves over time and that today's athletes are technically more advanced in certain areas because of those developments. However, the pushback against arenas came quickly, including from people close to his own platform discussions, because critics argued that evolution does not erase respect for previous greatness. Many former players believe the issue was never whether modern athletes are more skilled in certain areas, but whether younger stars dismiss older generations without understanding the physicality, mental toughness, and competitive intensity that defined those eras. To older legends, advancements in training and nutrition explain changes in style and efficiency, but they do not invalidate the accomplishments of players who dominated under far harsher conditions and with far fewer advantages than modern stars enjoy today.